Raymond Dunn says Sunday Funday is finally here, and you know what? Raymond Dunn is correct. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. This is Sunday, September 13, and as in every Sunday, we stay away from the news and we just have a little bit of fun for just one day. We have fun every day, but today, as every Sunday, nothing is sacred, no one is safe, and today will not be an exception. If you're new to these broadcasts, my name is Paco, and we have a really good time putting together Coffee and Headlines every single morning live here on Facebook at 10:30 in the morning, Monday through Saturday, news and leisurely stuff. Sunday, we just never know what's going to happen. Right, Luna? Luna is, as always, my faithful companion, my assistant. She is always just eager, just bouncing with enthusiasm at, hey, are you going to start taking notes or what? She's like, fuck this. I'm just having a nap. Pet me. Okay, so that would be Luna. So Luna sits here with me, and we put together stuff for you to have fun. And today is no exception. Today we are going to have four little things to discuss. Number one, we're going to talk about Mexican albures. And an albur is, albures are Mexico's beautiful, amazing, intellectual tradition of double-entendre. And we're going to talk about that and the differences between that and other kinds of double-entendre out there in the world. We are going to talk a little bit about a Mexican performer, Natalia Lafourcade, who is a young musician. She's still in her 30s, but she is amazing. And I want to share 3 specific video clips with you that will hopefully make her gain a place in your hearts. And we're also going to take a look at a couple of funny COVID-19 things that came across my way, or I came across their way. I don't know who came. But there's going to be a lot of coming later on when we get to the double-entendre business. And we're also going to dive briefly at this curious way in which we tell time here in Mexico. But before we do that, I want to very quickly say hello to everyone and invite you to add the letter Q to your comments or questions. If you have something important, we'll be happy to try to address it. I see all kinds of familiar faces, a smaller crowd than in other days. Good morning, Paul. But it's okay. It's Sunday. Everybody needs to take a day off, except for Luna. Luna never rests. It's great to see you, Sherry. It's great to see you, Jeannie. It's great to see all of you. So let's see. Paco, just wanted to thank you for everything you do. Oh, Dan, that is so sweet. It's also a little part of sunshine, a little bit of sunshine for me. And it's also obviously a part of my daily routine. When I took a short vacation and I went to San Sebastián del Oeste 2 or 3 weeks ago, I mean, I found myself in the morning having pre-recorded segments and thinking to myself, well, I just feel really weird because I'm not sitting in front of the microphone having having fun with my friends. So it is great to see this. I see that Michael Sin is coming to Puerto Vallarta for his birthday. Congratulations. This is wonderful. So it's yes, the video is on a loop and the video is completely artificial. There's no beach. Please remember that we are here in my study at home as always. Here is a question. Any issues on your end regarding voice and lips out of sync? That is what I see here in Canada. I am not seeing that, so I cannot easily comment to that effect. Everything seems to be looking good here. But if anybody else is having that same problem, please let me know. And I don't know that I'll be able to solve it, but at least I'd like to know that you're all enjoying the broadcast. So, albures. Let's talk about albures. In Mexico, well, first of all, before we talk about albures, let's talk about double entendres. Because we understand double entendre. It's phrases that have a double meaning. Now, in English, double entendre has been around for centuries. I mean, it goes back to the Canterbury Tales. It can be found in Oliver Twist. It can be found in on Shakespeare, sonnets and plays. So it's something that we know. And if we want to examine double entendre today, all we have to do is watch The Simpsons or watch 9 to 5, the movie, or watch The Golden Girls. I mean, the double entendre always has some kind of sexual innuendo. But in Mexico, the albur, or the tradition of alburear, which means that you say an albur, is something that cannot really be traced to a specific origin. It appears in literature, and it has to do with this fine art of saying something sexy or sexual, but not actually using dirty words. And it's something that can be traced back to people that are shy about talking about certain things like their genitals or sexual intercourse. It can also be something that is very intellectually challenging because there are these competitions that we're going to talk about in a second. And so the feeds are out of sync in Canada. I'm sorry to hear that, but refreshing your browser might be a good suggestion. Isaac calls the art of seduction with words, and yes, it is. And to be able to appreciate what an albur is in Mexico, you have to be fairly fluent in the language to appreciate it. So I'm going to try my damnedest to show you some examples of how albur takes place in our lives, starting with a very basic situation. What happens when somebody asks you, ¿Te gusta el chile? Do you like pepper? That seems like a completely innocent question until you realize that chile in Mexico is also a slang word for penis. So do you like chile? Could easily be a double entendre question that has to do with, do you like spicy food or do you like, spicy food, if you know what I mean. The same thing happens with, hold on just a second. Let me be, oh, there you go. The same thing happens with papaya. Papaya is a yummy, delicious fruit, but because of its shape, it resembles a woman's genitals. So whenever you're talking about papaya or you're talking about chile, depending on the company that you keep, you can open up all sorts of possibilities in which you are saying things that are playfully sexy, playfully sexual. So if you're sitting in a dinner table, particularly you as non-Spanish speakers, Isaac, I have a hunch that Isaac is going to just drop a bunch of albures on us through the whole performance. I love it. Entre más picoso mejor chiquito. That means the spicier and the smaller, the better, says Isaac. So anyhow, let me show you other. Oh, Jorge is also going to be contributing to this. Okay, let me get to that in a second. First, let's go back to this, and I want to move on. Sometimes albur shows up in in unexpected places. For example, you can have a phrase that means one thing but sounds like different things. If you take the phrase "dame la hora," that's the Spanish equivalent of saying "give me the time" or "tell me what time it is." But if you make a subtle change to it and you say "dame la hora," which is how you would say the phrase, if you look at the spelling difference, "dame la hora" or "dame la hora" means "tell me what time it is," whereas "dame la hora" means "give it to me now." So that is a very typical phrase that is used in Mexican albur. Another example of a similar situation could be "no se apene, pásele joven," which means "don't be shy, you can come in, young man." But just by switching one letter, you are saying "don't be a penis, come in, young man." So whenever you exchange these kinds of phrases, you are not insulting the other person. You are actually just having fun with the language. Mario provides one that I always have a difficult time with when I go into the store. ¿Tienes huevos? ¿Tienes huevos is a very innocent question that means, do you have eggs for sale? Say, if you walk into the convenience store. But tener huevos also means to be gutsy, to be courageous. So I am always self-conscious of that particular phrase. Thank you very much, Mario, because whenever I go into the store, I will always say, "Tienes huevos de gallina," to specify that I'm looking for eggs, for hen eggs, for chicken eggs, or whatever. So that's a really great situation to take into account. Anyhow, let me go back to this. This is a personal story. This happened to me when I was in elementary school. I was sent home with a note to my parents because in elementary school we were learning English by singing songs, and we were singing "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head" by Burt Bacharach. And there is this phrase in the song that is, "I'm never gonna stop the rain by complaining." And I just could not. I'm going to put that one up on the screen. Just give me a second. I just could not stop laughing when we were singing this song. And one of my classmates asked me, "So what is so funny about this?" And I said, "Well, it sounds like you're saying vergón. I'm never gonna stop the rain by complaining." And vergón in Spanish is a word that means that you're well endowed. And it's not a dinner table word, by the way, because the word verga, which is the equivalent of cock, is not something that you talk about at the dinner table unless you're with your very good friends. Anyhow, teacher found out that I was coming up with my own albures, Spanish, English albures, and I was sent home with a note that day. Isaac points out this lovely phrase. Where is it? "Te ayudo con los huevos," means "let me help you with your eggs," which is a very flirtatious way to say "let me grab your sack." That's another very common albur and a really wonderful one. Moving on, what else do we have? Albures can also take shape when words have several meanings. For example, the phrase or the question, "¿Dónde quieres la parada?" In this case, parada means bus stop. So it's a very innocent question that a bus driver might ask to a passenger in the bus. But parada also means erect. So the question can have that playfulness of saying, where do you want the hard one? And how would you answer this? Well, hasta el tope. In this case, tope means speed bump. So the answer would be, "Please stop the bus when we reach the speed bump." But the phrase "hasta el tope" also means all the way. So what is going on with all this back and forth phrases and all this stuff? Well, what happens is that, as I was saying before, many consider albur in Mexico as an art form. And there are national competitions. And whereas for example, you have RuPaul's Drag Race, they have the library where they throw shade at one another and they just say insulting things at one another. And this is considered to be very funny. And it can be, but it can also be very hurtful. Albur is different because in albur competitions, there are ground rules. You cannot, for example, openly insult someone. You have to make a statement, and the other person needs to have a comeback statement in 3 seconds or less. And ultimately, the person that loses is the person that fails to come up with a statement on time, or whose statement is just not as good as the previous one. I have attended one of these competitions, and it is the funniest, bawdiest experience you could have because it takes a lot of wit and it takes a lot of knowledge of the language. We are very quick to dismiss albur as something that is typical of the blue class worker or the lower class population. And there is some truth about that. But the fact that you are a lower class person does not mean that you don't have the insight and the wit to come back with phrase after phrase after phrase. So it is a fascinating thing to consider. Some examples of phrases. The phrase no sacudas la cuna que despiertas al niño means don't shake the cradle, you'll wake up the child. Obviously, I hope you can see the double meaning in that phrase. Another example is en mejores tepalcates he frito mi longaniza, which means I have fried my sausage in better pots. Or, you get the drift. This is a cute one. If you feel bad, si sientes feo cuando me voy, ¿qué sientes cuando me vengo? If you feel bad when I go, what do you feel when I come? Duh. Okay, let me see. What else do we have? Albures can also take the form of riddles. For example, here's a riddle. ¿Cuál es el pájaro más caballeroso? What is the most polite bird? The answer, el que se para pa que te sientes, the one that rises for you to sit. So you get that too. I certainly hope you get that. If you're not getting these, please let me know and I'm happy to explain. Les ayudo con los huevos, as Isaac was saying. Now, albur can also take the shape of people's names. For example, our dear friend Paul Christ, who has this other persona called Eileen to the left in English. Her name in Spanish, her drag name in Spanish is Rosa Melano. But Rosa Me el Ano means rub against my ass. So you can also have a person's name all of a sudden become an albur. And I can give you other examples of this. Well, there's a bunch of Japanese sounding names like Yo si toco tu cosita, which sounds like it could be somebody's name who just came here from Japan. But what it really sounds like is I do touch your little thing. Yo si toco tu cosita. Or the second one, I love the second one because this is just too funny. I learned the second one when I was a child from a book I'm going to show you in a second. The second one is tu chicha ta caída, which essentially means your tits are sagging. Your tits are sagging. Well, that's funny to me. I'm sorry. So you can try to fool somebody. In fact, I remember doing this when I was in conservatory school, and I had a Japanese friend that was in the chorus with me, and those of us that were Spanish speakers would say to her and ask her, "Well, do you know the famous composer Tu Chicha Ta Caída?" And she would start thinking, "Oh my God, I don't know. What kind of music did she compose?" And we would just laugh and laugh and laugh. Anyhow, that was my childhood. What else? Do I have more? Let me check. Of course. Oh, then it also has to do with the order of words. If you say, no es lo mismo palos en el monte que montes en el palo, this literally means it's not the same to say sticks in the field that fields in the stick, but it's a word place on the fact that palos en el monte is one phrase. Montes el palo essentially means that you ride on the stick. So again, it's wordplay that is playful and so forth and so on. And then of course there's the flirtation. The other day we were talking about the phrase "vamos por el pan," and when you say to someone "vamos por el pan," it means you want to go out and go to the Brenda's Beaver. Really gay off. I wonder how the book Brenda's Beaver would translate. There are songs. There's this one song that is called something like "I love your body, but would you hold it against me?" That would be like an English albur, for example. Anyhow, "vamos por el pan" is a very flirtatious way to say, well, do you want to go for the baguette? Which, of course, we understand what that means. This is very poetic and really beautiful. ¿Quién fuera noche para caerte encima? If only I could be night to fall on top of you. I mean, it's beautiful language, but it is obviously flirtatious. Let me see if I'm done with this part of the shindig. Hold on just a second. Yes, we are done with the albures, and I'm so glad that we survived that. Anyhow, where do I get this inspiration? Well, I have a story. There is this book, which is not going to look very good on the screen because of the chroma keying and all that stuff. And, I came back to the bricks. I didn't mean to come back to the bricks. What I wanted to do is go back to the ocean. That's better. Anyhow, Picardía Mexicana by Armando Jimenez. It's obviously in Spanish, but it is this gorgeous 200 and something page anthology of albures, and it has illustrations, it has jokes, it has everything you can imagine. And I've had this book in my possession since I was 11, and it has traveled the world with me. And I know that because in the book I held on to the receipt. And the receipt here, which doesn't look very good on the screen, is dated 1977, and it cost 19,000 pesos. So it was when the peso was in a different currency. Anyhow, albures, it's another great Mexican thing to talk about. And I see, vas por el pan porque quieres lechita para dormir. I tell you, this business of the pan, of going for this says, are you going to go get the bread because you want your milk to go to sleep? That's a very innocent question, but we know what you're thinking, Isaac. Your mind is in the gutter just like mine. Moving right along, I want to talk to you about, and get done with all the dirty language for a change. We want to talk about Natalia Lafourcade. Whoops, and I'm blocking Natalia Lafourcade. I don't mean to block her. Let me put myself over here. If you don't know Natalia Lafourcade, she is an amazing Mexican actress, and that was not supposed to happen. Hold on just a second. Those are my notes. You shouldn't be able to see my notes. I don't want you to see my notes. Let me show Keynote. There you go. See, now I'm going to take a quick look at my notes so that I can tell you everything I want to tell you. Natalia Lafourcade is one of the 100 most influential women in Mexico. She is 36 years of age. She's the daughter of two musicians, so she was born in a very musical family. She is, and I will, yes, Sophia, I will share the name of the book in a second. She was born in Mexico City, but she grew up in Coatepec in Veracruz. And so she was very influenced by the musical richness in that region of Mexico at an early age. She began singing in a mariachi band when she was 10. That's when she started performing professionally. Her first album, which had her name, was released in 2002. She was 18 at the time. And it reached #1 on the Mexican charts, and it gained, it registered as a platinum album with all the sales that it received. The album received a nomination for a Grammy Award award for Best Latin Pop Album at the time. So the first just beautiful moment, sweet moment with Natalia Lafourcade that I'm going to share with you happened in 2017. And this happened at National Public Radio as part of their acclaimed series of Tiny Desk concerts, which are a series of intimate video performances that are recorded live at the desk of All Songs Considered host Bob Boylan in Washington, D.C. So she did this live performance. It lasts 15 minutes, and it will allow you to see a sense as to how beautiful her personality is and how engaging she is. The second one that I want to share is this song that she composed, which is called Mi Tierra Veracruzana. Mi Tierra Veracruzana is featured in the Tiny Desk concert, the first one that I want to get you excited about. But here is a music video that she recorded, and the song is a love letter to the state of Veracruz and its music and its traditions. And what's beautiful about this particular version is that it was recorded outdoors and it was performed live. So it's not a studio session. She tends to do a lot of this spontaneous music playing. And when you watch this, I want you to keep in mind a little phrase that the musicians repeat through the performance, and it's the phrase café con pan. The phrase café con pan is a phrase that is used for students of folkloric dances from the state of Veracruz to learn one of the two essential steps. The sones veracruzanos, and I'm glad that Carmen Porras is here to watch. Carmen introduced me to sones veracruzanos dancing. We used to do it together. And when you're learning the steps, these are dances that you dance at on top of a platform, a wooden platform, so that you can make noise with your shoes as you're dancing. And one of the two most traditional steps is café con pan. And the reason it's called café con pan, it's because if you repeat the phrase café con pan, café con pan, café con pan, you're essentially doing the steps that your feet would do. Café con pan, café con pan, café con pan, café con pan, which means coffee with coffee with bread, which is a very traditional merienda in Mexico. If you are hungry, usually, as I was saying the other day, our dinner or our supper is light, and it's very common to have, café con pan for dinner. And when she performed this music, I want to mention that the song is part of her album Musas, which is a tribute to traditional folkloric songs from all over Latin America. And she performed along with Los Macorinos, the two gentlemen that are on her side. And these guys their name are Miguel Peña and Juan Carlos Allende. I'll talk to you about them in a second. But first of all, I want to let you know that this album received a Latin Grammy Award nomination from Album of the Year. And Los Macorinos are two very skilled guitar players, and they used to be freelancers, and they used to get hired to perform in albums by many different artists. And this continued until 2004, when legendary singer Chavela Vargas, who you see on the screen right now, discovered them and invited them to be part of her musician roster and never let go of them. They were that talented. And you're probably wondering, well, who was Chavela Vargas? We would have to dedicate an entire show to Chavela Vargas. But if there's something to be said about the company people keep, check out this gorgeous photograph of Chavela Vargas on the right, lying on the grass with none other than Frida Kahlo. Notice that Chavela Vargas is wearing a man's suit. So I can tell you that the relationship between Chavela Vargas and Frida Kahlo, the famous Mexican painter, was very personal. And I'll leave it at that. The third amazing moment that I want to share with you that has to do with her, with Natalia Lafourcade, has to do with this concert that took place in Merida, in the city of Merida, the capital of the state of Yucatan. She performed a concert with her friend, Mexican conductor Alondra de la Parra, and they feature the Caribbean Philharmonic Orchestra. And the third video that I will share with you is a video that shows a little bit of the behind the scenes that was going on at the concert. And again, all those things are going to be on the show notes once the show is over today. And I'm glad that a couple of you recognize her, and this is really wonderful. I want to bring up this comment that Carmen makes because it's very true. Albures, if you are not familiar with them, you may not get them. And it is unfortunate, and Carmen is absolutely correct, that a lot of times albures are said by men to women, and it can be insulting and it can be degrading. The intention of albur is not to insult anyone, but it is unfortunate that certain people do tend to use albur as a way to insult, or it becomes a complicated situation in which a man may be flirtatious, but he can be misinterpreted as being offensive and insulting. So again, using albures, or part of the finesse of using albur or learning or appreciating albur, also has to do with when to use the language. I remember a few times ago that we had Sunday Funday, we talked about the word puto, and the word puto, which is a very nasty way to say homosexual, it's actually the equivalent of saying faggot, is a word that is being banned from football games, from soccer games, because a lot of people, when they're booing against the opponent, they will just cry that word puto, and the word can seem very innocent, but at the same time it can be very, very insulting to some people, and of course certainly to other homosexuals. I would be very insulted if somebody called me a puto, unless it was one of my buddies. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. Let me see. Boom, boom, bum, 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 bum. Yes, we will talk about Chabela at some point. She is a huge, huge icon, and again, a very traditional singer, just really, really wonderful. Just to finish up, let me dive quickly into this very weird way. I keep sneaking myself out of the ocean. It's my habit of being such a workaholic. Before we go, I want to show you this very odd way in which we Mexicans tell time. And I'm going to do that by referring to this word, which is the word ahora. The word ahora means now, it means today, it means in the present time, and but it's not the same thing as saying ahorita, which ahorita may seem to be may seem to have this diminutive suffix added to it, which it doesn't mean that it's a little today. It means right now. But you can also say ahorita. And if you say it with that kind of a tone, what you're implying is, what you're implying when you say ahorita is, okay, I got the message. I know that you want it done right away. I'm almost there. And it's not the same thing as saying ahoritita, which means I'm almost there, or ahorititita, which means almost there, or saying ahorititititita, and you can add as many titititititas as you want. And this is how we tell time, you know. It's kind of like when people make fun of the fact that we have everything done mañana, but that's not a fun joke. That is also one of those jokes that is overheard. We don't want to use that joke anymore. This is Coffee and Headlines for today. This is Coffee and Headlines Sunday Fun Day. As always, I try to bring up a few things to enrich your knowledge of our culture, your knowledge of our music, and as always, we just try to be silly and funny at some point. I want to give you an update on a couple of things. Tequila and headlines seems to be something that is actually going to happen. This will be on Tuesday, September 15th, which is the night, the day before Mexican independence. Usually, we celebrate Mexican independence late uh, on the 15th at night and continue celebrating the following day. And what is going to happen is I will be broadcasting live from Hotel Mercurio. Hotel Mercurio is going to have an afternoon Mexican fiesta to commemorate the Mexican independence. There's going to be mariachi. There's going to be a couple of competitions. I think I talked Paul into doing a guaco competition, and we heard the other day we talked about the guaco, and it's the guaco is that very traditional Mexican yell or Mexican cry that we sing through mariachi songs. And I will be recording some parts of the show of the party, and then I will share them in a live performance. We'll be out and about in Hotel Mercurio having fun, and that will be an addition to our usual coffee and headlines, which, as you know, we do every morning at 10:30 in the morning. Tomorrow will be Monday, and as usual, we'll be back to our usual choice of news and headlines, including, of course, the weekly reports that we get from our governor about the COVID-19 numbers in our state. So between now and tomorrow, I encourage you to stay happy, stay kind, stay friendly. Use your albures sparingly and respectfully. And don't fall prey of an albur if somebody starts to alburear you. And that's it. Have a great day, and I'll see you again tomorrow, or not. If not tomorrow, sometime in the near future. Bye bye.